500 naira. Going by road, you'll be talking about nothing less than 5 to 6,000 naira. The same thing with our passenger coaches here in Lagos, where we offer first-class services with the diesel multiple units. We're talking about 750 naira for a trip all the way from Ijoko, outskirts of Lagos. I'm talking about Ogun State, coming right into the heart of the mainland, that is Apapa and Ido. Again, initially, people felt that this was a bit pricey, but all these trains are congested now. But not only that, if you're not prepared to go on the first class 750 naira train, we also have the 230 naira second class coaches, again plying.
Well, how comfortable are those?
Just as comfortable, other than the fact that they are not air conditioned. But these are coaches that are fit for purpose. I mean, they're coaches well lit. You have fans in them,
and
not
no
air conditions.
Because
again,
I know in time past we had to deal with people even sitting on some of the coaches.
I must say that is something which is now being dealt with. But in the early days, people just couldn't believe that the trains were back. And so we find ourselves in a situation whereby people were just ready to hang on the train, to sit on top of the train, all because...
Not even considering
exactly, just
safety.
because of the affordability. I mean, for them, it's like, the train is one mode of transport where in terms of traffic congestion, in terms of... it relieves all of that. So you're there in Lagos on these trains, you look out of the window, you see the congestion on the roads, and you just, sail along from one end of Lagos to the other. So I think that has been the attraction. But from our own side, we're not too happy about the congestion, and that is why the federal government has again, renewed its commitments to the acquisition of more coaches and wagons. But having said that, I must say that this is not something that can be achieved by the federal government on its own. We have now gone a long way. We've made very good progress in our efforts to bring in private sector into Nigerian railways.
Now let's talk about the technical skills that is going to be brought into some of the things you've been talking about, because we know that maintenance culture in Nigeria is something we're still trying to grapple with. And over the years, people have complained that yes, perhaps one of the reasons why the railway system suffered was due to lack of maintenance. I mean, we didn't really have enough engineers, if I may say, to really upgrade and ensure that these things are upgraded. So how are you dealing with that?
One of the key areas in which we've now made it mandatory that when we procure new rolling stock, whether it's a train or whether it's a crane or whether it's a locomotive, within the procurement contract, the original equipment manufacturers are expected to come in and provide the requisite training for our staff. The same thing with the rehabilitation contract, the same thing with the construction of brand new standard gauge lines. A typical example is that of Abuja to Kaduna, where the contractor actually has a 5-year post-implementation maintenance contract built into the contract. The same thing with the acquisition of spare parts. Spare parts for all our assets, these are all built into the manufacturing contract. So we're now moving away from what we had in those days where you have assets being procured, the next minute you find it difficult to actually acquire the spare parts, the next minute you find out that your staff are not actually trained, they don't have the expertise to operate this. So the strategy of the government of today is to ensure that all of this major critical success factors are built into the procurement contract. So today, you look around, you see all our locomotives, the diesel multiple units, they're all being operated by Nigerians. Every single new modern asset, they're all being operated by Nigerian railway staff. You won't find someone from outside the country coming to drive our trains or drive our locomotives. So that has been the strategy. But over and above that, we have also then imbibed on a continuous improvement regime where on a regular basis we're having refresher courses for our operations staff, civil engineers, mechanical engineers, refresher courses to bring them back into what it takes to have all these assets regularly maintained. You're talking about preventative maintenance, routine maintenance. That culture is now being brought in. The same thing with customer services. It's not just about acquiring rolling stock, building new railway lines. No, we're now moving into, it's like a paradigm shift in the orientation of our staff with regards to customer services, talking about the issues of punctuality. If a train is scheduled to leave at 9, it leaves at 9 on the dot. Talking about the issues of ambience, both on train and within our stations. Cleanliness, reliability of the trains, are the air conditions functioning? Talking about safety, talking about security. We have now brought on board a performance measurement initiative whereby all the factors I've talked about are being logged on a daily basis. So today I can actually tell you what percentage of our trains actually left within 5 minutes of the departure time. I can actually tell you what percentage of our trains, right, do you have all the electrical appliances functioning. We get these records and we now find out what is the cost. We do some form of gap analysis. What areas do we need to improve on? Are they human factors? Are they mechanical issues? And so what we're beginning to see is a complete, a marked change in attitude of staff towards customers, which for me is quite encouraging.
Now, tell us about the issue of ticketing. I mean, it's something many people have also talked about over the years. I don't know if perhaps if that has been really dealt with now, because you talk of corruption sometimes within the system and how some people, even within the NRC, some staff's trying to cut corners and all of that. How have we been able to deal with that?
What you'll find is that having been moribund for so many decades, there are still quite, a lot of infrastructural work to be done to make our stations non-porous. So we are at a stage where most of the enforcement is actually done through on-board checking of tickets, because we don't actually have, stations that are, totally fenced up. What you'll find is that with time, people are beginning to, in themselves, just see the need to buy tickets before boarding the train. We've had experiences, we've made a number of arrests with passengers without tickets online. And how we do this is by engaging our staff and in some cases outsourcing the checking of tickets on board. We also have the outsourcing of all the ruffians we have on our trains, climbing the rooftops, hanging onto the trains. Again, that is also being addressed. But I must admit that, yes, in the beginning, we have major challenges with ticketless passengers. But again, that has changed.
I expect that people can actually make a living out of working for the Nigerian Railway Corporation.
Oh, yes, indeed, in terms of the training being provided, in terms of the level of motivation, even in terms of the remuneration. That is something which we're looking at to see what sort of perks, are most desirable by our employees. So Nigerian Railways is generally, basically transforming from that old place where, it's the last place you want to work, to a place where people are actually showing quite a concerted interest in being part of us.
All right, we'll just hold our thoughts for a moment and just go on this quick break. And when we come back, we shall continue with our discussion here on Question Time. Please stay with us.